As Naruto fans, we often get into arguments of which character is the strongest, and in Boruto's era, those arguments get even more heated, particularly when you start factoring in all the insane power creeps that take place in the 16 years between the end of the 4th Ninja War and Boruto Part 1 ending, which is why in today's Strongest in Naruto video, I want to go over the 15 strongest characters in Boruto Naruto Next Generations. For the criteria how we establish this list, this applies to only characters shown in either Naruto Gaiden or in Boruto Naruto Next Generations manga, so no Boruto 2 Blue Vortex because that's still ongoing. And number 2, I heard the feedback from the last couple of videos I've done like this, so I'm not going to use every single version of the character. So when we rank Naruto, we're only using Naruto at the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, and we're only going to use Baryon Mode Naruto since that's technically a different character. And 3, while we're primarily using the manga here, we will be using other official Shueisha back materials. Finally, if we hit 2,000 likes in this video, I'll drop 30 strongest Boruto characters, which is definitely going to surprise you. So starting things off at number 15, we're going to be going with Kinshiki. With Boruto fans, Kinshiki can be a very tricky thing because even after all these years, we still have people who take the Kinshiki can split a planet databook translation and they try to discredit Kinshiki. So we're going to clear that up right now before we go any further. The controversial Boruto movie databook that Kishimoto wrote declared that Kinshiki can split entire worlds and obliterate all things. So Ray and a few other translators who I trust that are either from Japan or they're fluent in Japanese have all come to the same consensus, which is that Kishimoto was writing Earth and world in the sense of all things created within the Earth or the planet. All the disingenuous takes of Chojuro has planetary durability because he took a swipe from Kinshiki that can all get packed up now. However, Kinshiki's raw power is something that is still very impressive despite him coming in at number 15 on this list. While I personally don't scale Kinshiki as an individual above Kaguya, it is important to note that Kaguya and Boruto's manga specifically writes down Kinshiki and Momoshiki by name in her scroll as being the two people who are coming to Earth to kill her for eating the chakra fruit, and that she needs to make the Zetsu army to prepare them. Not the entire clan, just those two specifically, and the narrator for Boruto's movie novel directly states that Kinshiki and Momoshiki together were a threat that Kaguya couldn't oppose out an army, which the movie novel and the first 12 volumes of Boruto's manga are all written by Ukyo Kodachi, so there is consistency there since the author is the same. In terms of the raw power aspect of Kinshiki, we see that he's able to stalemate Sasuke after Sasuke has already dumped a considerable amount of chakra into opening up one of those interdimensional space-time portals, and we see him fight off several Kage level shinobi, but in terms of raw physical power, he's got some impressive moments in the series. The Boruto movie novel has Sasuke confirm that with his Sharingan and Rinnegan, he sees that Kinshiki is able to take the chakra in his body in a way that is different than Tsunade and Sakura do with their chakra enhanced punches. Kinshiki takes this chakra to directly strengthen the actual muscle fibers in his body for greater physical output. Another thing to notice that Kinshiki using chakra to alter his muscles does not prevent him from being able to use chakra in more traditional ways that you see shinobi do to boost their physical stats, because Kinshiki is able to cloak himself in a purple chakra in order to amp up his speed to match the pace and attacks of Rinnegan Sasuke, who is amping his speed with the lightning cloak, and he's able to make weapons using his chakra to switch between weapons when he's fighting. In fact, the Boruto movie novel has one of his weapons being durable enough that it blocks a full power Sasuke Susanoo sword that Sasuke produces during the fight in the Chunin exams arena that was not adapted into the anime, where Sasuke uses that Susanoo sword after Kinshiki tries to kill Sarada. At number 14, we're going to be going with Momoshiki. I'm putting Momoshiki ahead of Kinshiki for a few different reasons. The manga and anime make it pretty clear that Momoshiki was the higher ranked of the two and likely the stronger of the two. Momoshiki just has more hacks that actually puts him over Kinshiki. While his Rinnegan jutsu is easily one of the lamest we've seen in the series, it's basically a souped up karma seal in that he's able to absorb chakra and fire back chakra attacks twice as powerful as they were originally. He has shown some rather interesting uses in it, like when he was able to combine several high-level chakra-based attacks for his Reign of the High Emperor jutsu that he used on Naruto at the Chunin exams. However, the attack power of that jutsu is overstated by fans, and yet it's also downplayed by a lot of fans because Boruto's manga does the opposite of Naruto. So whereas Naruto's manga would showcase destructive capability by showing the attacks on a wider scale with more background damage, Boruto focuses more on attack potency and controlling the area of destruction. When Naruto uses Kurama to tank this attack, he's actually encompassing the entire Chunin exams arena in Kurama's chakra, and he's taking the explosion and holding it into himself, compressing it in order to limit the damage. Momoshiki's attack was powerful, but Naruto makes it appear to be more powerful than it was because of the fact that he compressed it down to take the brunt of the damage in order to protect the village. However, when we look at other things that Momoshiki does, there's a lot more given to us. For starters, Boruto's manga tells us that he's got an extensive knowledge of all shinjutsu that the Otsutsuki clan have, though it's unclear if he's able to perform all shinjutsu. But in Boruto novel 3, that we see that he's able to destroy all life on the planet with one of his attacks because he deems it unsuitable for a chakra fruit, and he destroys several planets by freezing the sun in the solar system because he's unhappy with how one of the chakra fruits tasted that he ate from a planet there. In the Boruto movie novelization, he was the one who did a majority of the fighting against Killer Bee and easily defeated him. In just his base, we see that he can speed blitz base Naruto and kick him, though Naruto was off guard in the tuning exams, and in the Boruto movie novel, he's able to briefly fight off Darui and Sasuke when they double team him in a sword fight. But base Momoshiki's taijutsu skill, while not impressive as the Kage who are fighting him, he was still deemed by Gaara in the Boruto movie novel to be at a level where he thought that Rock Lee would be a really good matchup against Momoshiki's taijutsu. And that's worth noting because Rock Lee is regarded as one of the best taijutsu users in the Boruto era. Momoshiki's rinnegan also allows him the ability to produce chakra rods that can suppress the chakra of those who are struck with it, as well as use as melee weapons. Each rinnegan on his palm has a different power. The one on his right hand, as we discussed, allows him to absorb and shoot back attacks stronger than they were at first, but the left rinnegan allows him to change the structure of the chakra absorb. With this Byakugan, we also see that he has the ability of limited foresight, but he can't use it to foresee attacks and he can't use it to see his own destiny. Now, number 13, I'm going to be going with Kashin Koji. In Sage Mode, Kashin Koji runs into the problem of you have people who see him and they say he's a clone of Jiraiya, so their knee-jerk reactions to say he's only as strong as Jiraiya when that's actually false. This Kashin Koji beats Jiraiya so badly in a fight 1 versus 1 that he knocks the horny out of Jiraiya in the process. There are a few indications of this being the case. Obviously, Koji's body being modified by Amado's ninja tech, which gives all the car inners that superhuman power that we see, but also the fact that Koji, unlike Jiraiya, is a perfect sage, able to enter into sage mode on his own, unassisted, which is why the Toads chastised Jiraiya for not being able to go into sage mode on his own. With Kashin Koji, the data that we have is limited, but there's enough here to justify putting him outside the top 10. While playing around with Team 7, he traps them all in a high-level ceiling jutsu, is getting ready to kill them. He made a fool out of Konohamaru when he fights against Kakashi in the anime, despite this Boruto-era Kakashi being confirmed significantly stronger than the Kakashi who fought in the 4th Ninja War against Obito and Madara. Kashin Koji was able to battle off Kakashi and use a shadow clone while doing so the entire time, never directly engaging him, which that is important to take note of because shadow clones evenly split the amount of chakra of the user. So this is Kashin Koji at 50%, pushing Kakashi to a point where he had to use purple lightning. When he's shown fighting against Jigen, while Jigen was only at 10% of his power, Koji was able to be in complete control of that fight and showcase a pretty solid arsenal of combat abilities and skills in that fight. He's able to summon natural fire via his summoning seals, and he's able to use the trance of true essence flames, which are flames described as being fire release so powerful that no rain or wind will be able to put them out, which for reference, the only other fire release described on that level is Amaterasu, and with these flames, they burn so fast that not even people like Victor, who have high speed regeneration, are able to recover from the damage done by the flames. Essentially, when Kashin Koji hits you with this jutsu, he throws on a chef hat and becomes Chef Koji. When he goes into Sage Mode, Kashin Koji is able to match blows with a newly awakened Ishiki, though it is worth noting that Ishiki has a tendency to play around with those who he's fighting against, never truly going at full power until he deems them a threat. And given how easily he took out Koji when he got serious, this lines up with that. But during this time, we see that Kashin Koji can use the Sage Art Giant Rasengan and other jutsu that his parent Jiraiya could use. While in Sage Mode, he can also use the Sage Art 5 Fire God's Flame Jutsu, which can generate fire at high enough speeds that Ishiki's Dojutsu, while it was able to extinguish them, they did require some effort from Ishiki because it did catch him off guard. Now at number 12, we're going to be going with Sage Mode Hokage Naruto. And before someone gets the pitchforks, this is Hokage Naruto using Sage Mode without Kurama. This Naruto might have lost to Ninetales, but on his own, his raw chakra reserves without Kurama are still high enough for him to use Sage Mode, which in of itself requires high chakra levels just to undergo the training according to the manga. On his own, Naruto's chakra levels can suppress 1/2 of Kurama, and as an adult, while he did get rusty after becoming Hokage before training for for majority of 16 years between the end of Boruto's 4th Ninja War and the Boruto era, Naruto does train and get stronger. While Tensegan Chakra Mode Tenari was stated to have a similar level of power as Kaguya, the fact that Naruto only needed KCM2 to take him down is a sign of how strong Naruto's base power level got during this time, because otherwise going into KCM2 would not be able to do that against someone that's stated as strong as Kaguya. That also lines up with Naruto in base and having 50% of his chakra being absorbed, where in the Boruto movie novelization, we're told that he's able to bring down Momoshiki on his own without any help, and he proceeds to fight base Momoshiki on his own until Sasuke warns him not to use traditional methods because Momoshiki can absorb chakra, and Sasuke believes that shadow clones might have been absorbed as well. This Sage Mode, Naruto is also able to sustain Sage Mode for longer periods of time than he could in the past, and he's at least strong enough that when Momoshiki was controlling Boruto's body, he sensed Naruto arriving, he didn't want to face that Sage Mode Naruto in combat alone, implying that he viewed him as a power that was strong enough that he required help of code. It wasn't until Naruto got that noticeable mental nerf that came when he saw Momoshiki controlling Boruto that Momoshiki realized he could kill Naruto. This Hokage Naruto is very tricky because we're told by Amato it's impossible to calculate how much power Naruto's lost with the Nine Tails. You do have some people who take Kurama's line in the anime where it says Naruto won't have superhuman strength anymore, but that was clearly in reference to chakra that comes from being the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, who holds the key to the sanctuary with the 9 Biju chakra that Naruto needs in order to access 6-pass Sage Mode and 6-pass power. The fact that Naruto by himself can use Sage Mode and is stronger than the Sage Mode we saw in the past is still superhuman power, just not on the level we've seen prior, which makes a lot of sense. When he fights Fused Momoshiki, despite him having lost 50% of his chakra, according to the anime, he's able to react to attacks, block, and counter. Some of the attacks by Fused Momoshiki in the manga is even more impressive because he dodges the initial counter attack, and when Momoshiki tries to speed blitz him again, base Naruto not only dodges the attack but is able to track his movements, turn around, and start the process of blocking a sneak attack before he goes straight into 6-pass Sage Mode with the Kyuubi cloak to snatch the attack away. In Sage Mode, Naruto's reaction speed would have been significantly faster than what's shown here in base, which at that point in time was only 50% of Naruto's power. The problem here is that there are conflicting schools of thought on how to interpret Amato's statement. I personally look at it as Amato was just trying to gaslight Kawaki into despair so he would reawaken the karma seal. Momoshiki's actions towards Naruto initially lead me to believe that Amato was full of it, that code could defeat Naruto. Now at number 11, I'm going to be going with One-Eyed EMS Sasuke, which again, that's probably going to piss Naruto fans off, but I sincerely believe there's more of an argument for Sasuke being stronger than Naruto than there is for Naruto being stronger than Sasuke, as they are at the end of Boruto's manga. Even with One Eye, the power buff that EMS gives is still going to be higher than what Naruto gets in Sage Mode, which is the power of basic Sage Mode is directly tied to the amount of chakra that the user has, since they have to balance out the nature energy that they draw in with an equal amount of their own chakra. Just given how much stronger Sasuke's base has gotten compared to the war, cutting on EMS even with One Eye is still a massive boost in power. We saw fatigued EMS Sasuke was able to fight off Borushiki into a defensive and force Borushiki to hide, mask his chakra, and wait for the moment that Sasuke cut off his Sharingan when he was trying to conserve chakra before he hit him with a Vanish and Rasengan to immobilize Sasuke, because again, Sharingan's off so you can't see the jutsu coming. Sasuke in Boruto episode 220 later confirms to us that had he not been mentally nerfed at the sight of Boruto being controlled by Momoshiki, he could have killed Borushiki, and that the next time this happened, Sasuke would set his feelings aside and kill him. Given that Sasuke made that claim about himself when he was already fatigued from fighting against Ishiki and just gotten his rinnegan destroyed, I don't doubt that One-Eyed EMS Sasuke would have been able to kill that version of Borushiki, since he already had him on defensive even though he had that mental nerf in the process. Now there's debate with some fans asked if Sasuke can still use the Susanoo, so I'll weigh in here briefly. The answer is yes. I've answered that question of can Sasuke use the Susanoo One Eye in a short, and I also explained why Kakashi can't use the Susanoo in a short as well. Watch those if you're still confused. Now One-Eyed Sasuke I think goes over Naruto pretty clearly here. It just comes comes down to, do you think he's above Kashin, Koji, and Delta, which I personally do. From here on out, everything's pretty set in stone with the exception of Jigen, but we'll get to that in a moment. So breaking into the top 10, we're going to be going with Fused Momoshiki. I think this one's also pretty self-explanatory. Fused Momoshiki was strong enough that he not only one-shot 4 of the Boruto Kage, but the shockwaves that came from molding chakra in the manga was enough to slice the god tree clean in half. While we did see him holding off Naruto and Sasuke, the Boruto movie novel gives us more insight where Momoshiki reveals that if he fought either the Naruto he was fighting or the Sasuke he fought in a 1-versus-1 battle, he believed he was stronger than them as individuals, but the two of them that he was fighting as a duo was literally stated by the narrator of that novel to be his equal in power, and it was for the first time in his life Momoshiki felt fear because the duo of Naruto and Sasuke fighting together produced a power that went beyond things like strength and speed, and it was something Momoshiki couldn't comprehend, which made him desperate enough to draw on chakra from a parallel universe, and it still wasn't enough to overpower Naruto and Sasuke, who continued to raise their power level in order to match him. There's a noticeable power increase that comes from Momoshiki fusing with Kinshiki. It's not something as simple as addition of one power on top of the other, but it's an unknown and unquantifiable number for a multiplier that levels Momoshiki up when this occurs. Fused Momoshiki's entire fighting style changes. The attacks are filled with more finesse and they're more fluid. He's able to produce chakra weapons like Kinshiki, and he's shown adapting to the fighting styles as he pushes forward in combat. Now, coming in at number 9, we're going to be going with Delta, which is probably going to be the most controversial placing on this list, but really and truly it should not be, and I'll explain why. Delta was at least strong enough that she was able to hold her own against a suppressed 6-pass Sage Mode Naruto, which again, don't look for truth-seeking orbs, which are a different power. Look at Naruto's eyes, see if they got toad slats and fox slits with no orange pigment rings beneath the eyebrows. Base Naruto tangled with Delta, who was holding back against him and proceeded to go into 6-pass Sage Mode and stack the Kyuubi cloak on top of it to fight her. Was Naruto testing her to see how much power she could handle? Yes. If Naruto would have thought that Sage Mode would have been enough to handle her, Naruto just would have went into Sage Mode. Naruto jumped right into this high of a level for a reason. Full power Delta should go over base Naruto and below suppressed 6-pass Sage Mode Naruto. During that battle, you see Naruto state that he's going all out in terms of taijutsu when he's fighting her, while purposely controlling the flow of battle to redirect her away from the kids, particularly after he almost gets Himawari in danger, and he's containing the area of destruction in his attacks. The one time he does use the lava release Rasen Shuriken, he redirects it up into the air instead of it letting it detonate on the ground or in the background, because the Hokage training ground where they're fighting at is literally right next door to the Ninja Academy, so there was no choice but to redirect it up into the sky, otherwise somebody's kid gets blown up. The same when he uses his giant Rasengan. Naruto is purposely controlling the output of the force as he overwhelms Delta to avoid generating damage that can impact the academy next door. Delta matching blows with a serious taijutsu Naruto, even if he's redirecting the fight, is a still testament to her power, particularly because she's forcing Naruto to use more energy to restrain himself when they're fighting, and has him more than once in a situation where he's panting in exhaustion, and following her defeat, he slumps over onto the ground out of exhaustion, outright saying he made extra effort not to kill her, but most importantly, he was not sure whether or not it would have been easier to kill her instead, implying there is some uncertainty on his part, which is another nod to her combat ability. Now, at number 8, I'm going to be going with Boruto at the end of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, who is in partial control of Momoshiki's power. Basically, the Karma Seal Boruto who fought Kawaki at the end of Boruto Part 1 in Chapter 78. So there's this misconception that Boruto using the Karma Seal is only as strong as Momoshiki was. However, that's not true. That's like saying Naruto could only ever be as strong as the Nine Tails was. The stronger the base gets, the more powerful a transformation gets, regardless as to if it's addition or it's multiplication. Boruto's base grows pretty significantly as the series progresses, and each time he uses the Karma Seal, the increase that we see grows as well. And simply put, it's because the karma seal is broken. Boruto was strong enough that he was forcing base Naruto to brace for his attacks, and his thunderclap arrow made Naruto resort to using a shadow clone in midair to tank the attack instead of trying to avoid or block it himself. Boruto would continuously go stronger as he gained more combat experience. By the time that he fights against Kawaki, given how much stronger Kawaki's gotten by getting Ishiki's dojutsu, I do believe there's a solid argument that can be made that he's stronger than the Borishiki who defeated Boro by using some of Naruto's chakra, but I still believe he's weaker than Jigen, especially since this Boruto is unable to manifest Momoshiki's Byakugan and chakra aura. Now at number 7, we're going to be going with Jigen. This one should not be a shock unless you're one of the people who still can't grasp that Jigen and Ishiki are two different people. Jigen's pretty interesting to look at because Jigen's power level actually fluctuates quite a bit in the series itself. When we first see him in the manga, we're pretty much made clear that this is the boss of Kar. And when Kawaki first senses Naruto cut on his 6-pass Sage Mode chakra cloak, Kawaki stops dead in his tracks and freaks out at the power he senses, stating that Naruto might be stronger than Jigen, which would mean full power 6-pass Sage Mode chakra cloak Naruto is stronger than Jigen, who by extension is stronger than fused Momoshiki. Boruto uses pretty linear power scaling when you get past the shock of the power creeps. And I'll take it a step further. Kawaki, I don't think, is an unreliable narrator here. The manga does not contradict Kawaki's statement either, and Jigen's own actions after learning Naruto defeated Delta directly lines up with that. He doesn't go right away to face Naruto. He says, I gotta make some preparations, and those preparations were to go see the Ten Tails and juice up on the chakra from the Ten Tails, which makes me lean towards Kawaki's statement being true. Naruto and rinnegan Sasuke were more powerful than Jigen, which is why Jigen needed to juice up on Ten Tails chakra for an additional power boost, because if he felt certain he could take down Naruto, he wouldn't have needed to go there for more power as a safeguard before challenging Naruto. The Ten Tails juiced up Jigen is really strong. A quick exchange of blows of this Jigen in episode 203, who was only using the basic karma amp, was enough for Kurama to tell Naruto, quote, this guy is on a different level than Delta. When Naruto and Sasuke fight against stage 1 karma seal Jigen, they pretty much stalemate him during the filling out process, and once Sasuke breaks down Jigen's jutsu, they gain the upper hand and almost succeed in killing him. But once Jigen goes into his full karma, it's a wrap. We see it in how he mocked the perfect Susanoo's power and question its defense before he destroys it with a single kick, which for reference in Naruto Volume 71, when Kaguya uses her vacuum punch jutsu, it required multiple simultaneous hits in order to destroy the perfect Susanoo, and Jigen does it in one kick and he destroys Naruto's Kurama avatar with an uppercut and proceeds to leave Naruto unable to stand up on his own or maintain his chakra mode after only 6 direct hits by full power Jubi Chakra Amp Jigen. The combination of Hack's abilities from the Karma Seal and Ishiki's dojutsu and the Ten Tails chakra amping up his physical stats allowed Jigen to literally hard counter Naruto and Sasuke's entire ninja arsenal, which I go in extensive detail breaking down every single jutsu that he counters in my Why Jigen 1 video. Now at number 6, I'm going to be going with Borishiki at the end of Boruto Part 1. Like previously stated, Momoshiki, when he takes over Boruto's body, there is a pretty serious increase in power, and if you follow the narrative closely, you can see that each time Momoshiki's taken over Boruto's body, due to Boruto himself growing stronger in power, Momoshiki in full control grows stronger as well. There's a very noticeable gap from when Momoshiki takes over Boruto's body and when Boruto calls himself properly using Momoshiki's chakra. Case in point, how Momoshiki inside of Boruto's body was able to slapbox with Horn Kawaki, who had multiple spokes of the Dharma wheel in his eye, and does relatively well against him, reacting to some of the attacks and actually pressuring Kawaki for a minute, whereas Boruto goes up against Kawaki, who doesn't even have the horn sprouted, just the basic Karma Seal pattern, and that version of Kawaki had the upper hand on Boruto, and it was implied he was getting ready to kill both Boruto and Sarada, despite the fact he wasn't using his full power. Just using the basic Karma Seal was enough for Kawaki to get that far on Boruto. That's both a testament to just how strong Boruto's gotten on his own, as we previously went over, as well as the fact fact that there's another reservoir of power that Boruto at the end of part 1 has not actually tapped into. Because again, you can use very linear scaling and see how both of them did against Kawaki at the end of part 1 for a measuring stick. At number 5, we're going to be going with Kawaki, who has Ishiki's dojutsu and has the horn sprouted. This one's pretty self-explanatory. He's clearly stronger than Jigen. He's able to manifest more spokes of the Doma wheel in his eye. He's able to dominate Borishiki. He's able to use all the same powers that Jigen could use that belong to Ishiki. He's able to combine it with ninjutsu if he wants to. The main drawback that this version of Kawaki has is that he's not as good at chakra control as Jigen was. Therefore, his body does tire out very quickly when he starts using these jutsu. According to Shikamaru, Kawaki is the strongest person inside the Hidden Leaf Village before Daemon arrives. And when Shikamaru makes this statement, Naruto never raises an objection to it because it is an objective fact. That being said, this Kawaki, while he is stronger than Jigen without any type of Jubi chakra, he's also implied to still be weaker than Code, who now has his limiters removed, which brings us to the next number. At number 4, we're going to be going with Code without his limiters, or rather put simply, white-haired Code. This Code does get his ass kicked quite a bit to the point where he's become a meme. However, this Code is also pretty strong. Like Kawaki, he is a Kara cyborg. He also has Ishiki's Karma Seal. The only problem is that he can't use any of Ishiki's abilities. He just gets a extreme power amp when he uses the Karma. His Claw Mark Shinjutsu is something that's been compared to Minato's Flying Raijin. It's basically teleportation, where he's able to move to and from each of the markers that he has and teleport himself or other objects or people, dragging them through those claw marks. The only thing that those claw marks are inferior to when it comes to Minato's Flying Raijin is that Minato's Flying Raijin is instantaneous, whereas Code still has to actually move towards the claw marks and enter into them. However, despite this, he's clearly stronger than Jigen, but he's weaker than Ishiki. And when you look at Daemon, when Daemon starts talking about Code, one of the things he says is that it seems like you're stronger than Jigen. And when you look at Naruto's reaction to any potential possibility of Boruto and Kawaki fighting his Code, you can tell that Naruto's reference for Jigen is the Jigen juiced up on Jubi Chakra. However, Daemon, his reference is the Jigen who is not juiced up on Jubi Chakra. So it's going to come down to which Jigen do you think that Kawaki and Code are actually stronger than. I say Jigen, who isn't juiced up on Jubi Chakra. At number 3, we're going to be going with Daemon, and this one's self-explanatory because it's linear power scaling. Code is stronger than Jigen without Jubi Chakra. Daemon absolutely dog walks Code whenever they fight, and it isn't just because of Daemon's ability to use Shibai's Shinjutsu, which allows him to reflect all attacks that are coming his way as long as Daemon is physically touching someone in the room. So say if you're fighting Daemon in a grocery store and Daemon runs over and gives an old lady a hug and you try and attack Daemon, the damage is going to be reflected back to you. Daemon takes one look at Code after he gets limiters taken off and he's absolutely not impressed with him, which really becomes hilarious when you take into the fact that Daemon is able to sense people's latent power. He's able to sense something inside of Himawari, says she's stronger than everybody realizes, but when he sees Code get his limiters removed, Daemon isn't impressed. He absolutely murders him in that fight, makes Code run away, and when it comes to any prospect of fighting Code, Daemon is bored. And the scariest thing about Daemon is the fact that he's never fought at full power at any point in the series. This little 8-year-old kid is stronger than whatever character you want to say from Naruto Shippuden. Facts don't care about your feelings. At number 2, we're going to be going with Ishiki, and this one makes total sense. He's basically Jigen on steroids, something that both Kashin, Koji, and Naruto confirmed for us in the manga after they take a couple of hits from him. Amato tells us in the very beginning that Ishiki must never be allowed to revive in Kawaki's body, because if he did so, it'd be the end of the world scenario due to being able to use his full power now. Ishiki was someone who wasn't just stronger than Kaguya as her superior, but he's someone who Kaguya didn't want to fight head up. So she waited until Ishiki's guard was lowered and hit him with a sneak attack, which is basically a sucker punch. It does not hold any weight. Anyone telling you otherwise is being disingenuous. You can walk up and sucker punch Roman Reigns and potentially kill the guy if you hit him at the right angle, but you're not dumb enough to think you can beat the guy head up in a fist fight. It's the same logic here. If Kaguya could have beaten Ishiki head up, she would have tried to do so. She wouldn't have used a sneak attack when his guard was lowered. And as a reminder, there's no pre-chakra fruit MILF Kaguya. The Kaguya who came to Earth in the manga had 2 horns and had the Rinnegan Sharingan. This Ishiki that we see was a monster. The only reason Ishiki lost his fight is that the guy has the same bad habit that Jigen did, which which is he plays around with his enemy instead of finishing them off right away. But as a wise man once said, when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, which brings me to number 1. So at number 1, we have Burial Mode Naruto. And before we go into detail on this, I want to throw out a couple of honorable mentions for characters who almost made this list, but I kept them off due to inconsistencies in one case and a lack of tangible information in the case of the other character, which is Urashiki, the anime-only character who Masashi Kishimoto created for the Boruto movie, and Ada, one of Amato's cyborgs who were supposed to be destroyed because their combat power greatly exceeded Jigen's, but I kept them off for a few reasons. The way that Urashiki's power is depicted is completely inconsistent depending on which arc that you see him in. When with Ada, we're told that she has combat power that goes above Jigen, but she herself says that she's only good at simple taijutsu. Could this be a Sakura situation where technically Sakura scales over 1/3 of 6 past chakra mode Naruto from the war arc, which means that she would be stronger than someone like Minato, but Minato beat her 9 times out of 10, assuming that she doesn't land one hit and blow up his head. One has the raw power and the other one just has a ton of skill to overcome the power gap. It's pretty much the same thing when it comes to Ada. That's how I'm interpreting that statement. So Burial Mode Naruto, he's just him. When Naruto went into this form, Kurama tells him that this is different than normal Kurama mode or 6 past Sage mode. It's described as being a power being on a different level because it consumes chakra from both Naruto and Kurama to produce a new type of chakra that is described as nuclear fusion. Naruto went from begging Ishiki not to slap the taste of ramen out his mouth to bullying Ishiki when he first goes in this form, requiring the most careful of focus of concentration in a near Zen-like state in order to maintain it, where Naruto could only afford to focus solely on taijutsu in the manga. Attacks that were previously too fast with Naruto now move in slow motion due to how locked in he is, and when Ishiki shoots out his chakra rods at Naruto, he gets a buff in visual perception because he's able to snatch them out of midair to deflect them like it's nothing, with Sasuke being so shocked because his rinnegan and sharingan were struggling to follow the movements of those chakra rods. For most of Burial Mode Naruto's fight, he's dominating Ishiki, and it isn't until Naruto's form begins to wear off that Ishiki's able to regain the control of the fight and eventually stomp Naruto out of Burial Mode altogether. However, that's going to be it for my top 15 strongest characters in Boruto. As a reminder, if we hit 2,000 likes on this video, I'll drop the 30 strongest Boruto characters.